Shalini, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi. So
How
lovely
are
seeing
you?
you in person.
Yes, it's so lovely. How are you doing?
I'm fine. It's a little bit dark on my side because it's almost evening and it's so bright and lovely in New York
Yes, we're having a sunny day.
that we can always cut what we don't like. So we can
Okay.
say whatever we want and the way we want and make as many mistakes as we wish.
And play.
And play
And you
exactly.
can always crop it out.
And gossip about people and say
Well, I don't have a cocktail. Do you have a cocktail?
oh mine. Oh no,
I have Perrier.
you've got period. This is the best one. Oh, I didn't think about it, but wow, you gave me a brilliant idea. So I think I'd better sniff your wonderful new perfume instead. And
Yes, please do.
yes, exactly. It will pick up my mood. So
Yes. Well, I wear parody once during the day and Iri Lumière in the evenings. I don't know if Ines shared that with you at all.
I do wear about 4 or 5 different perfumes during the day.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Well, parody Provence is the golden light, and then Iri Lumière is the silver light. So inspired by the sun and the moon, respectively. And I tend to wear the parody, like I'm wearing parody Provence right now. So I wear it during the day, and in the evening I transition to Iri Lumière to sort of bring in that kind of lunar energy. And iris root used to be used as a sedative. I didn't know if you knew that.
No, sedative. So
Yes, they used
still
to use
can,
it as a sedative. Sorry?
it still can be used like as a sedative now then. So
Well, I find I sleep really well when I wear Lumière in the evening. So sometimes right before I sleep, I'll dab myself a little bit more, and then I'll sleep like a week. So
iris is used as a sedative, but knowing how expensive this ingredient is, I wouldn't sleep if I use it. I will be always calculating how much I spend in. Oh,
well, you just have to dab. Our fragrances are pure parfum, so you just dab like a really tiny amount, or spray just a really tiny amount. You don't really need very much because they have the pure oils. So it doesn't really require that much to sort of stay with you. And orris butter actually has a great amount of longevity. So you might wake up in the morning smelling it still. It's just, it's so mesmerizing. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. I mean, I'm still discovering it every day because it's brand new. So I'm still playing with it and discovering aspects of it every day. It's really beautiful.
exactly, the longevity. I met a friend perfumer yesterday. We had a blind
Right.
tasting, and he didn't know which perfume was which or what brand it was. And so without saying what were the other brands, I can say when he smelled this, he finally smiled and said, "Oh my God, this is exquisite. This is a real perfume. This is what we call a
Right.
parfum, because it's so luxurious.
Exactly.
It's beautiful." And then he explained that we can't really find the words to specify why one perfume sounds really cheap, and another one is luxurious. So what is it? It's all about sensations and impressions, like music. Why we say this is pop and this is classical music? What makes the difference? Maybe there are no words to describe it. Well, we can feel it. And I can tell you that I put a little bit on the blotter of Iri Lumière for him, and then my fingers all the way back home were all smelling like a very, very luxurious Iri Lumière. It was just wonderful.
Right. Yes.
And well, another thing, some perfumes change when you go abroad. For example, I'm in St. Petersburg at the moment, and some of the perfumes I prefer in London smell quite differently in here because the humidity is different and the temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And I can
Right.
tell you that it was so St. Petersburg because it's a lunar, very moony city. So
Right.
this was, I think this is perfect for all people who live here. They need to try it. So
They do. They do.
Could you tell me more about this last creation? Because I know that you're launching it now in Harrods.
Yes, we're launching it in Harrods, and we have an exclusive pre-launch with Harrods in August, and then we're launching worldwide in September with all our other retailers. I'm going to back up just a little bit. I'll go. I don't know if you know, I come from fashion. I don't know if you knew that I come from haute couture.
You work for
But I
Valentino,
actually came.
right?
I come from. Yes, I worked for Valentino. Exactly. So I trained in haute couture. So my sensibility is all about using the finest ingredients. Working with the finest perfumer. Maurice is one of the greats of the greats. He's truly a great artist. And then, presenting it in the most exquisite bottles. So we take all this trouble to find, I'm always like very precise, because it's a visual to me is as important as what you're smelling, because I think the visual is also part of a sense you want to engage when you are smelling, the sense of touch. So that's why our bottles are always great to hold. So you're engaging the whole, the sense of the touch, you're engaging the visual, you're engaging the smell, and then, obviously it evokes memories and all of that. So when I started Shalini Parfum, I was really classical French perfumery, the root of, classical French perfumery, but also elevating it to a level of haute couture. So when Maurice and I work, I'm always like, use the finest. Don't even hesitate. For Amorum Rose, we use Bulgarian rose, which is the finest rose. And for Lumière, we're using, orris butter, and the highest quality of orris butter. We're using frankincense, muguet, jasmine, hyacinth, all of these galbanum, very pure ingredients. And the reason almost was like, when you wear these pure ingredients versus wearing chemical variants or lower versions of them, there's something in the way it elevates you, the fragrance with the pure ingredient. It elevates you in the sense of, your consciousness almost rises, your soul rises, you feel the sense of elevation, you feel a sense of joy, and it shifts you in a way, because natural essences were always used for that from the times of the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians. They always used these essences for those reasons. We've kind of lost that through the centuries, and that was sort of the reason I was trying to bring it back with these really, really, really pure ingredients. And coming to Lumière, it's like swimming in the sea naked. You absorb all the elements of the sea, and you absorb all the elements of the moonlight coming on you. That's what I think of Lumière. It's like the silver light of the moon shining on your skin as you're swimming naked in the sea. Perhaps you're going to edit this, but that's kind of what it is. And it just envelops you. Galbanum, actually, which is one of the primary ingredients other than the iris. Galbanum actually grows in the marshes in Iran. So it's a marsh where the two rivers meet the sea, and it's a very specific flower. And we chose it, I wanted that kind of watery quality to the silver light. So that's kind of what the inspiration was for Lumière. And we never put color in our fragrances. So it is what it is. Whatever the natural ingredients are, that's the color of the fragrance. Like Lumière looks like water, because there's nothing there that really brings a real cool, warm color to it. While Paradis de Provence looks like sun, because it has that green golden quality from the thyme, and also from the orange absolute, which is kind of has that greenish quality to it, and neroli as well. And it has olive. which is olive used to be used, you know, olive oil is obviously, we know, is fantastic for us, but they used to use olive paste on skin as a form of healing. They would put it on their skin. And, you know, you see these ladies in Italy, they're like over 100 years old. They've been putting olive oil in their skin, and it's beautiful skin. It's beautiful, just olive oil. Yes, I just picked up, this is just our little spray bottle. It's not a great display, but you can see the color in there. Iri Lumière is iris, frankincense, galbanum, muguet, like the French muguet, and then hyacinth and jasmine. So it's very much like, it's very floral, while Perfumedaze is more sort of green because it has thyme and olive, and you know, it's an interesting juxtaposition. And it's interesting because one of them is the golden light and the other is the silver light, and together they're the two lights that sort of surround you. So there's like a beauty to the solar and the lunar, the two energies kind of surrounding you. It's really beautiful, and that's why I sort of chose the Lalique as well. You have the two circles, it has the intersecting circles for, so it's the same Lalique for both the fragrances, because you have the two twin lights of creation. They bring a sort of a visual element and also a historical element, and also the idea of the inspiration, because each bottle is connected to the inspiration of the fragrance. So there's that visual sense of pleasure. And in history, as you said, you know, they were designed in the 20s and 30s by René Lalique. It's like there's a historical element that's so beautiful, you know. I'm all about, I studied architecture actually. I was studying architecture before I went into fashion, and you know, there's something about creating something that lasts, that, you know, that stands the test of time. That's why each fragrance is very carefully thought through, and it's created in a way that it's going to be a classic. It's not something that's a trend related, you know, thing that's going to pass away in a few months, that, you know, there'll be something new. You know, every fragrance is added to the collection in a very thoughtful way, and it's going to be around for decades and centuries, hopefully. Paradis Provence and Iri Lumière came as a sort of almost like an illumination inspiration in 2018. I cannot describe it any other way. It's like, sometimes I'll get these, you know, I mean, I guess creative people would understand. Sometimes you get these messages, or you feel this internal, it's like an internal thing. It sort of comes as a flash at a moment. It's almost like an illumination. And I received that information in 2018. And so it was really about, they was both supposed to be healing in a way. So Paradis Provence was supposed to be the healing golden light, and Iri Lumière was supposed to be the silver light of peace and self-acceptance. So it's interesting when you think of what the world is going through right now. I think it's kind of interesting how these fragrances happen to launch at the moment that this is what we're going through. It's sort of an interesting, you know, I would have never predicted that in 2018, that that's what it's going to be. And Paradis Provence, interestingly enough, has a lot of the healing energies that you need for what is happening in the world at the moment. And Iri Lumière almost brings like a sense of peace, which I know a lot of people are feeling, you know, different variations of what is they're experiencing as anxiety or fear or illness, as the case might be, you know, but it brings a sense of peace. And, you know, who can explain it? It's a miracle. I mean, I would have never known this in 2018. So it's just, you get these illuminations of information. I mean, to give you an example about Amorum Rose, I love roses, but I can't say it's my favorite flower in the world. I find tuberoses more interesting, or irises, or, you know, there are other fragrances other flowers that I'm more drawn to. But I would walk down Fifth Avenue and I would feel like I was enveloped with roses. I could smell them, and I would feel like the sensation of being enveloped with roses. And there were no roses around, and I would be smelling them. It was the most incredible thing. And the next thing I knew, I was like, okay, I know I to create a fragrance that makes you feel like you're your own personal rose garden. You put it on and you walk, or anywhere you are, you feel like you have a rose garden around you. And that's how it started, Morum Rose. It comes from nowhere, I guess, from somewhere.
Oh,
It's hard to explain it, but I mean, that's where inspiration it comes from, you know, from the ether, I guess.
yeah. It's so interesting to have to be part of this dialogue, because it is dialogue. If somebody tells you something 2 years before this lockdown situation, and you listen to it, and you are docile enough to follow the inspiration, and then you see the fruits, and you
Right.
finally understand what that voice meant. You're so happy that you
Yes.
followed the inspiration. Next time you will be even opener, more open to new inspiration, of course. But having worked for in fashion, do you sometimes think about perfumes as dresses, as a certain type of a dress?
Not necessarily dresses. I mean, though I am drawn to certain clothes when I wear certain fragrances, but more in terms of color, I think. You know, it's and you know, it's interesting because we always have these marketing envelopes that we sent out with the inspiration of the fragrance. So I do put fashion in there because I do think there's a correlation in the shape as well, but also color. But it's not so literal, it's almost more figurative, I guess, in a weird way. But it's very interesting. Like Jardin Nocturne is a nocturnal fragrance. So I always associate it with something sort of very sexy. It's one of us, it's the sexiest fragrance we have in the collection, though I think they all have their own, you know, ways of being. But Jardin Nocturne has oud in it, and which is one of the most sensual sexual ingredients in the world. And it has a massive dose of oud in there. And so when I think of Jardin, I always think of something very, you know, evening and something very sexy. So in that sense, there is a correlation in fashion. I always think of it as something you'd wear out for the evening, you know. While for Paradis Provence, like for example, like I'm wearing what you would wear for a Paradis. What would you wear out in the Riviera? You know, a bikini perhaps, or you know, a beautiful summer dress. And you know, it could be like, this is one of the Shalini dresses, but you know, it could be anything really. It could be a little white linen shift, you know, and you wear your Paradis Provence. So it's that sort of association. It's association with season and time. So that's where the fashion association comes in as well. So it's interesting. It's with Erie Lumière, I always think of luxurious, you know, silk robes, like luxuriating in the evening hours, you know, or as I said, swimming in the sea. So it's kind of a different. That's where the fashion associations are.
Mm-hmm. My friend perfumer, whom I met yesterday, said that he would wear it with great pleasure, and he thinks this will open very beautifully on men, especially.
Well,
So,
we've had a lot of pre-orders from men. It's very interesting. Yes.
and I know that one of your fragrances won the Fragrance Foundation Award.
Yes, Amorum Rose did
Yeah.
actually. Yes. It's also the signature fragrance for the Pierre Hotel in New York. Are you familiar with the Pierre? Pierre Hotel is on Fifth Avenue across from the plaza. It's where, you know, Elizabeth Taylor stayed. I mean, Valentina stayed. I think Karl Lagerfeld had a home there, and it has, yeah, it's these beautiful apartments and hotel combined, like the plaza in a way. It's very elegant, very beautiful, and they have a Amorum Rose, a signature fragrance. They actually have the white lacquer spray that they put in their grand suite, so their guests can take it home with them when they leave. So it's a present with a grand suite. So it's nice.
I need to go there. I need to go there next time I'm in New York. Now
Yes, they're lovely. Yeah, they're lovely. We actually had the launch of Paradis Provence at the Pierre. They have this room called the Rotunda, which is voted as the most beautiful room in New York City by New York Magazine. And they have, if you feel like you're transported to, you know, the south of Italy, south of France, and it's this magnificent, you know, painted sort of Trompe d'oeil ceilings. I mean, Jacqueline Kennedy's painted on it, amongst other women that have been through the hotel. And it's just gorgeous. And that's where we had the launch for Paradis Provence. It was beautiful.
Oh, yes,
You
I'm
should
writing
come.
it down. I'm writing it down already, Pierre, to visit. And I'm
Yes.
new.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's my favorite hotel actually in the city. So
Everybody knows about Plaza because it appears a lot in the movies, but maybe the best places are kept secret.
yeah, they actually had the scent of a woman shot at the pier.
Oh, they did. Oh.
Yes, they do have. They've had several movies shot there, but Scent of the Woman is very iconic. They had a tango scene that was shot at the pier. It's an understated luxury. You know, it's luxury, but it's not. It's very sort of. It's really a personal, understated version of luxury.